Yes, good day again. Welcome back to our continuous tutorial series on the beautiful, lovely, beautiful, great sounding Keytron event keyboard. We got a lot of feedback from the video we just put up a couple of hours ago, as a matter of fact, on the creation of styles. And so for that reason, we're going to continue in that genre as well. But right now, I think we're getting more and more specific questions, and which is going to bring us to today's tutorial presentation, which is going to focus on the drum mixer. You see, a lot of people believe that because the Keytron event is heavily based on audio, that therefore probably means that it's not capable of handling MIDI. Most of what you've heard so far, especially in terms of the drums, has been MIDI based. And because of that, it means that we do have the capability to control the individual drum parts, like your kick drum, your snare, your hi-hat, your rim shot, and your percussions as well, thanks to the drum mixer, which we're going to discuss right now. So if I move on and I show you the top of the screen right here, you do have the button over here called drum mixer, right? So once you press that, the screen now displays the actual elements of the drum set, your kick drum, snare, hi-hat, and then below are your faders based on what you select on the right hand. So right now the level is selected, which means that these faders control the volume of the individual parts. So if I just hit start right now, and let's just hear the drum set for example. There we go. All right. So as you notice, that's an actual MIDI drum set right there. Okay. I can go in, I can take out the kick drum. Okay. In real time. Okay. All right. I can take out the snare. All right, and that's again because all of these fader values are attached to the level. So whatever I'm doing right now is adjusting the volume of the individual parts. If I touch reverb, these faders are now adjusting the reverb on the individual parts. For an example, right there on your snare. Okay. And it's funny because again, this is the challenge on most arranger keyboards. I can still play and do this in real time. So I don't have to get out of here and get into some edit screen or edit menu. No, the beauty about the Keytron is that it's designed for quick access and live performances, everything at your fingertips. So I can adjust those drum settings and drum values in real time as I am playing with the arranger with my chords, okay? So let's go ahead and dig more in and dig deeper into this. So if you notice as well, assign to fader is on, which means that these values are also assigned to these faders over here. So sometimes it's a lot easier to manage them on this way. See that? So if I move the sliders here, each of these corresponds to the equivalent slider on this side because they're all been assigned, okay? So if I go back to level for an example, and I bring down my Latin 1 and 2, which is going to be these over here, I could get rid of those congas, okay? And bring them right up there, okay? And the hand clap. So every track has its own individual volume as well. Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I can also go in there, for example, and pan, okay? And let's say pan the snare to the left and pan the kick drum to the right. And why would that be important in that particular example? Because let me give you a scenario. On the event, for example, you have two main outputs and you have an auxiliary 1 and auxiliary 2, which are stereo, left and right, right? This also gives you the capability of being able to send out of the event different parts, like your drums, your bass, and your guitar, to a separate mixer. So that gives your sound engineer a lot more power to control the individual elements of the keyboard, right? So if you're going through, let's say, a sound system, you're playing in a stadium of about 1,000 people, the sound engineer can now take your drums and compress them and then make the bass sound a little bit more fat because he actually has access to the individual tracks that are coming out of the event. That's a very, very nice feature. We should discuss that more in terms of the hardware of the event in other subsequent videos as well as we move on. But let's talk again about the mixer. So yes, you do have that built-in drum mixer, and that gives you control over the individual elements of the style. Now, to make things more interesting, if you touch manual right there, okay, the manual button, let's go back to our screen. The manual right here actually converts the keyboard into an actual drum kit, and that's also based on the drum kit that was selected for the style. So if you notice in the beginning, while this was playing, I could actually add see, I can actually add individual elements in real time. Again, everything we've discussed in this particular video thus far has to do with MIDI drum sets, okay? Now, some of you may even ask, well, how could I change that drum set? Now, remember we discussed in the previous video on how to create styles from scratch. We did talk about how you could set up that in the style editor. But guess what? In your playback area, which is your view screen right here, you actually do have access to the actual drum set. If I go ahead and touch view and then I go into drums, remember the set that we chose for that particular style was your techno drum set. Now, once I can play this, I can even try out other drum sets. Simply touch that for 2 seconds and now it brings up this screen like we discussed a few hours ago actually. And I have different drum sets here. So no more programming. All I have to do is simply pick up one of the live drum kits, for example. Okay, that's like my drummer right there. Again, I can play. Again, and that's a live kit number 1. I can go to live kit number 3, all right? That's a stereo kit. So pretty much a live drummer sat there and we actually were able to capture the ambience of the drums as well. And now that we did that track, even though it's a MIDI track, it's actually calling up different audio elements. And of course, even though it's doing that, we can still go back into the mixer, okay, and still mix the live drum parts. I can still take out that snare, bring back in here, take out that kick. All right, so all of this is still working despite the fact that I've actually selected a live drum kit, not an audio loop, okay? Don't get that confused, a live drum kit, and you have several of them in here, especially again, if you have the AJAM Sonic package installed, then you get all that Western, American, Caribbean, Latin stuff, just making your event sound even much more powerful, right? So yeah, the drum mixer is a very, very powerful tool indeed when it comes to discussing the event. Now let's continue again. I can go back into the view, okay? And I'm going to try again and go back into the live kit, touch and hold that, and it goes back to the screen. I can actually go back in here just for the sake of it, okay? Let me go and pick a rock and roll kit right here. Okay, you can hear, again, in the background, these are all the various drum kits. And of course, if you have user drum kits, which you can bring in through the sampler. And we're going to discuss that in more detail when it comes to sampling. So you can actually add your own sounds, bring in sounds from other instruments or from other libraries, either sounds to play on the event in real time or to be used in the arranger this time, because that was a big complaint of previous Keytron products. You can use your sample sounds in the chords or in the arranger, and most importantly, you can bring in your own drum sets, your own sounds from your own ethnic background, and assign them to the various keys. So this is really powerful, and when you do that, again, the drum mixer still applies in those particular scenarios where you're able to now mix your own drum sets as well. So let's go back into the screen here and see what we're talking about. If you go back in here, you can see very clearly that we have all these different drum sets that we can pretty much call up as well for use, okay? Now, a question did come in this morning as well, again with regards to the style creation. So I'm going to expand upon that and to show you a little bit more what I did to that particular style that we created. So if I go back to this screen, the default screen, okay, I'm going to go back in again to view and modeling. Again, this is the power of the modeling tool, being able to use existing patterns that were created either with MIDI or with audio in your existing style. And of course, when you use audio, it sounds even much more real, much more punchy, right? So let's go back in and see what we're talking about here in terms of the live elements. So in the variation B, where we were doing the other part of the song, what we did here was I was actually going to find another bass line that was a little bit more moving, right? So in this part here, hear that the bass is just there, right? The bass is just there. Now let me go into the bass right here, and I am going to go and pick another live bass. All right, we want to make people move. So let's say I was to go into, let's see, an R&B. Would R&B make you guys dance tonight before you go off for your weekend? Maybe not. I'm looking for something more funky. Let's see here, blues, A, B, and you can see they are arranged alphabetically, right? So let me make you guys get off your seats with the funk A, right? So again, the part of the song we're doing is the that verse. Let's try and see how it sounds like with this. That's okay, it's not nothing to write home about. Let's try funky D. Now, you've noticed the volume was a little bit low at 58, so I'm going to go in there, I'm going to adjust that, bring it back up to, let's say, about 80, just so it stands out. Here we go. So again, that's very, very interesting. You notice how I was able to bring in that live bass, and there's a whole plethora, a lot of them where that came from. Okay, again with the A-Jam Sonic package, we're also adding some stuff like for zouk, for example, from the Caribbean island, and a lot of Latin stuff, salsa, samba, plana, merengue. All that stuff is going to be available to you in the A-Jam package. So again, thank you all. We wish you all a very, very nice weekend. Again, this is AJ at Keytron signing off for the weekend and leaving you all on your dancing feet. And bring in more questions. Again, subscribe to the channel below and ask more questions, and we shall answer to the best of our capability within what the events can do. And I hope most of you have gone out there and downloaded the latest software 1.1.0, which actually does add some stuff. Now, if you do see some stuff on my screen which is not on your keyboard, that's probably because I'm about 2 softwares ahead of you guys, okay? All right. Anyway, it's coming. It's coming. Just be patient. It is coming. Again, this is AJ at Keytron. Have a blessed day. Have a nice weekend. Ciao.